from any of the streaming portal, Facebook, if you're joining us on Facebook or you're joining us on YouTube, you can actually say hi and let us know where you're tuning in from. You should be able to just let us know where you're tuning in from. If you're already on the Zoom room, also go to the Q&A area and let us know where you're tuning in from. Yes, we have sound. Please, can everybody hear me? If you can hear me, you just say, yes, you can. Someone is asking if we have sound. Yes, we do have sound. Oh, great. Great. So please just let us know, just say hello and let us know where you're tuning in from. Thank you. Thank you, Denzel. Just let us know where you're tuning in from. Okay. 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 So we'll take off ad. All right. At exactly in the next 60 seconds, we'll be welcoming the Director of Membership at SSEAN to do the official welcoming and introduce us to SSEAN. And then we can take it from there. The agenda today, we would have SSEAN investee telling us, the next after that will be a SSEAN investee telling us the experience with SSEAN so far and how far they've come. And then afterwards, we would have the panel session and then go over to the pitch session. So for those of you just joining, I've mentioned before that you can actually ask questions in the comment session, using the Q&A session.
Okay. Hello, Uche. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Tokoni.
Okay, so it's a go then. So good day, everyone. Welcome once again, and thanks for joining us for today's session. We actually have two main events. Our first virtual conference for the year, which will be on the post-COVID-19 African Angel Investment Landscape Forecast, and the SSEAN General Meeting for April 2020. I believe we've all had time to access the agenda, so it's clearly stated there. I am Tokoni Amiesimaka, as earlier introduced, the Director of Memberships at the South-Southeast Angel Network, which we like to call SEAN. I'm responsible for coordinating all membership-related activities. So for all queries regarding membership, please reach out to me. I'll share my contact details later. So as you all know, we're living in interesting times. The coronavirus has created a crisis period of unprecedented disruption of socioeconomic activities across the world, which will definitely change the way we work, live, and interact with one another in the future. Today, we are fortunate to be hearing from a stellar cast of notable speakers and angel investors across Africa. They'll be sharing their thoughts on the impact of the COVID-19 threat to Africa's angel investment landscape and what we as angel investors can do to cope and thrive now and post COVID-19. Uche Aniche, the Director of Admin, will do the intros later. For the benefit of those joining us for the first time, SEAN was created in 2018, basically to provide a safe platform for experienced professionals and entrepreneurs to pool resources together in order to co-invest and support early-stage startups across Nigeria. We believe that building the Africa of our dreams is too important to be left to just the political class. We believe everyone, especially the skilled amongst us, have to chip in to make things work. We are sector agnostic, so we're not focused on any particular sector in terms of the startups we support. So we have an eye on all sectors from agric to fintechs, the whole lot. In terms of membership, a typical SEAN member is apolitical and has a traceable income. For us, one of our core values is integrity, and we need to do this so we can secure the businesses we support and protect the investment of our members. For more details on SEAN and how to join us, you could access our website, SSEAngels.org. You could also reach me on my email, memberships@SSEAngels.org. I'll be putting that in the Q&A section for anyone to reach out if you have any questions or clarifications on what we do, what we're about. So thanks for your time. I'm looking forward to the conference. So Uche, over to you.
Thank you so much, Tokoni. Thank you very much. So I'd like to just say that the next thing we have on the list is a presentation by one of the first startups that SEAN invested in, which is a technology company building power inverters based in Enugu State, Nigeria. We would love to hear how far they've come. They will be telling us in a few minutes and perhaps also answer a few questions, telling us how the SEAN support has helped them in their journey. So if you're ready, Aaron, you can actually share your screen. You can share your screen and take over the mic. Aaron, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much.
Great.
So yes, let me share my screen. Sorry for the delay.
Just go on, don't worry.
All right. I don't know if you guys can see my screen.
We can see your screen.
Okay.
Yes.
You can see the page deck. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see the pitch deck now.
We can see it. Go on.
All right. So let me try to be as fast as possible. So my name is Esume Aaron. I'm the CEO of Green Age Technologies. So Green Age Technologies basically focuses on indigenous manufacture of smart solar inverters here in Nigeria, and also solar energy solutions for homes and businesses. So our factory is located in Enugu State in Nigeria. And so since we're talking about the investment from Sean here, so I want to make it to be like a storyline. I don't want to just try to hit everything bullet and point. So the investment, so far I've gotten two categories of investments. Those that are focused on the manufacture of inverters and those that are focused on energy services. So Sean's investment has been focused on manufacture of inverters. A total of $20,000 was raised from Sean, and this has really helped the company move forward. So basically, before the investment, everything was done manually. Our soldering processes were done manually, our transformer winding processes were done manually. But after the investment from Sean, we were able to acquire some machines. So the first set of machines we were able to acquire were the SMD pick and place machines. So we're able to move from using through-hole components to surface mount devices. So this process is completely automated. So the time and the resources that were required to do through-hole, where through-hole components, you basically need to use your hand to put every component on the board. But with the SMD production line, the machines can actually place the components on the board for each. So it actually automated part of our manufacturing processes. It increased the efficiency and the speed of our manufacturing process, and it's also increased our production capacity. Also, prior to the investment from Sean, we were only capable of manufacturing inverters. The maximum kVA we were able to manufacture was 5 kVA. But after that, after the investment, we were able to focus our energy more on research and R&D, and also to upgrade our technology. So currently, after the investment, we are now able to manufacture both online inverters, offline inverters, single-phase inverters, three-phase inverters of the capacity of 300 VA to 30 kVA inverters. And also after the investments, R&D was also able to come up with high voltage transformerless inverters. Hereby, where a situation where the inverter is supposed to be of very high voltage, there is no need making use of transformer, which is going to make it more expensive and make it become heavier. So we are now able to manufacture inverters that are transformerless at very high voltages. So far, some of the accomplishments can also be listed here. So prior to the investments gotten from Sean, we actually got the investment from Sean in 2019. So prior to the investment gotten from Sean, we were able to manufacture only 80 inverters. But because of the investment, we were able to scale to manufacture over 260 inverters, which is still not up to our capacity. But because of one challenge or the other, we are still trying to stabilize the whole process. So the basic problem that GreenEdge is trying to tackle is importation of inverters in Nigeria. That's the basic problem that we're trying to tackle. That's the basic problem that GreenEdge Technologies Power Systems Limited is trying to tackle. So, and it's very direct. In trying to stop importation of inverters, what you basically have to do is to manufacture them yourselves. So this will help create employment, this will help increase the reliability on solar energy, because most of the products installed, because of one reason or the other, it is actually affecting the reliability. So most people in Nigeria now have this mentality of solar doesn't work. Not because the inverters, not because the batteries are failing or because solar panels are failing, because after a period of time, you don't even know what is going on with your system. So in manufacturing these inverters locally, we're able to solve some of these problems. So looking at the market opportunity, you can see that because of the fact that the government is actually focusing on renewable energy, not just the government, the society at large is actually focusing on renewable energy. And the more people make use of renewable energy to solar energy, the more the need for inverters arises. And this is actually going to cause an increase of approximately 15.6% of the opportunities in the inverter market. So these are pictures of some of our products after the investment from Sean. So currently we're able to, like I said earlier, we're able to do standalone UPSs now, online inverters, offline inverters, single three-phase inverters of the capacity of 300 VA to 30 kVA. So this is a picture of our factory. Our factory is, like I said earlier, is located in Enugu State, the southeastern region of Nigeria. So this is a picture of our factory, the front view. This is it at night. And these are some of the machines that are used in the factory. And these are some of the rooms where the manufacturing takes place. So some possible product expansion. We started with inverter manufacture, but we are looking to expand into other products that are within the same line of production. And so currently how we generate funds, how GreenEdge generate funds. Basically, once we manufacture these inverters, we develop supply chains. So there are some people request OEMs, whereby they want the particular products to be branded for them. But we actually have to develop links with most of the solar developers in the country, Also, some of the distributors too had to work with them. And also from time to time, also have to work with end users. So also concerning for Green Age Electric, which is the service company, what it basically does is mini grid installations, off-grid installations, solar energy solutions for homes and businesses. So our team is basically made up of myself, Uche Aniche as the CEO. Our head of research and innovation is Professor Linus Opara. He's from Nigeria, but he's currently a professor of biosystems engineering in Stellenbosch University in South Africa. Our COO is Olanike Jagun. Basically, 5 of us started the company when we were students of University of Nigeria and Nsukka. But now he has moved ahead. He's now he's the Rhodes Scholar 2019. So then Emeka Isaac is the CTO for Green Age Electric, and Okeke Kingsley Nagozi is the CTO for the manufacturing side, so, and a host of others. So our financial projections are available for those that might need it. So I'm going to basically use this medium to talk about the impact of COVID-19 on the business. Basically, we're a manufacturing firm, and at a point in time, the government gave an order that there should be lockdown for non-essential services. So the essential services that were covered were power and so on and so forth, but we were not able to get an exemption. So we had to shut down the factory. Another impact, what it caused is that we had some things in stock, and we're looking at using those things for over a period of time. But as soon as Lagos shut down and Abuja shut down, there was a surge. There was a surge in the demand. And because there was no supply chain from Lagos, nothing from Abuja, most offices have their headquarters in Lagos and Abuja. So because of that surge, we had to, in over a week, the stock we're planning to distribute for over a month or 2 months, we went out in over a week. So also, basically, as we're shut down, the factory is shut down, most of our staff that work from home, we still have to find a way to put up with their bills, hiking materials, and basically transportation is a problem. So there are some places that are totally cut off and you can't access it. There are some clients that require routine maintenance, but you can also access them because of the virus. And another very important thing is that the fact that we have to stay safe within this period. Opening the business is one thing, but also we're looking at the competitive landscape. Basically, the advantage we have is that because we manufacture locally, we can actually control the cost of our product because there are no import duties and a lot of things attached to those things. And also because we directly service the installers and the distributors, we can further reduce costs. And also we can also improve the reliability of the product. So most of our customers actually work with us because of the after sales services. Because our local presence here, there is no story of, we have to send it to Lagos and we have to wait for some time before they reply us from China. So we were able to cut out some of those stories. So for any reason whatsoever that there's a need of an after sales service, is actually effective and very fast. So also further, at the post-COVID-19, we'll be looking to raise some funds to expand our production capacity to over 15 inverters daily. So, and these are the breakdown of what the funds are going to be used for.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Thank you, Uche.
We would be, if anybody has question for Aaron before we start the panel session, you can actually type.
Hello.
Can you hear me, please? Sorry.
Yes, I can hear you, Uche. Seems you're...
No, thanks. If anybody have question for Aaron, please type in the. Somebody, Adera Sanusi is saying, what other solar products are you planning to build? So if anybody from the panelists, if you also have question for Aaron, you can ask.
I just typed mine.
Okay, let me see. Okay, may I see the last slide again? The last slide.
Yeah,
Aaron, share your screen again and just. Okay. So what is the contact information of the speaker? Aaron, you could type that in the Q&A.
Yes, I could type that in the Q&A.
In the Q&A, just type your contacts there.
Yes, I'll do that.
Somebody is also asking, what other solar products are you planning to build? So if there's any, you can just answer that very straight. If not,
basically the other products that we're doing an R&D on now is solar charge controllers and other switch mode power supplies. So those are basically the solar products that we're currently working on now.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
This is not what I want to see. I want to see the one on the projections, not this redefining Africa.
Okay. The projections.
Slide 17. Slide
yeah,
17.
I thought that was your last slide. Okay.
Slide 17.
Okay. Is it this?
Yes, slide 17.
Okay.
Is there any?
Okay, I believe it's this slide.
Slide 17, yes, this one.
This one, right? Okay.
Yes.
Basically, this slide is supposed to, we're planning on expanding our production capacity to 50 inverters daily as against what we have now. So this is what's going to take for us to achieve that over a period of 2 years.
All right.
Question, please.
Okay.
Question. Knowing that COVID-19, we don't know, like they say, the back of tomorrow. We don't know when it's going to end. What does that do to these projections? The uncertainty, timing-wise, because you said over 2 years. Mr. Aaron, yeah.
Yes, over 2 years as to when we receive funds to start it. So basically, we are working with what we have now. So that will start counting whenever we start receiving funds for that.
Okay, so you count it from whenever you receive the funds.
Yes.
Okay.
Because hello, all right, I can hear you.
Okay, my question is: do you not foresee any other variables changing? You're assuming that everybody's just waiting to invest immediately. I'm just asking, have you considered any other variable in this projection? Because I wouldn't say it's overly optimistic, but it is optimistic.
Yeah. We know that there are other going to be variables, but the plan was actually made prior to COVID-19. So we know that there's going to be a recession, basically based on what is going on, and pockets are going to be dried, and people are going to have resistance. But based on the fact that these are the standards, this is the standard that we've set, if there's anything we can easily readjust to meet what is available at that time. But we can't readjust now that we don't know what is going to be available. So basically, if there's anything that needs us to readjust, we just work with the numbers and make sure that the adjustment is.
Okay, so I just wanted to point it out because to act like we don't know what's going to happen or is happening already and still going on like we are happy and everything is good. I mean, we are happy, but everything is not good like that. Yeah, I just wanted to point it out so we don't all jump for joy. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
So, sorry, I was just going to ask a follow-up question to what I believe that was Uche Jacks. You've spoken to receiving the funds, right? Okay. How about the disruption to supply chains across your value chain? Let's say you have the funds today. Can you actually utilize the funds to buy equipment, to buy all the things you've listed out? Do you have access to those suppliers? Are they available? Can you utilize the funds today? I thought you were going to address this bit as well.
All right, I can address that. I can address that point. Concerning manufacturing, one of the only disruption in the manufacturing side is the fact that the factory is closed. So, and we are currently working on an exemption letter from the government. So if we can get an exemption letter from the government, open a factory, the supply chains for the components that will be needed to manufacture the inverters can still be coming in. So the supply chains for the components that are needed for the inverters, just that if for example, a state is on lockdown, then you know that we cannot, for example, we're trying to expand the factory. We know that cannot happen in this period because it's going to be actually very expensive because the price of materials have gone up. So that's basically the effect that it's going to have. Number one is that we are going to be able to do, if we decide to work with the money now, we are going to do less than what we achieve, than what we plan out for, because things are actually very expensive now in the market. But concerning disruption in the chain of supply, we can still receive materials for the manufacturing now as we are. I don't know if that answers the question.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much, Aaron. I think that's all we can take now. The contact information on the slide. Yeah, we will, Mr. Kadri, we'll put back Aaron's contact information on the slide after now. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have to discuss the main topic of today, which is for the post-COVID-19 African Angel Investment Landscape Forecast. We have quite, I can say that we have one of the, a set of the most active angel investors across Africa joining us for this session. And in no particular order, I'm going to just introduce them. They are people that I have enormous respect for. And like they say, I'm going to start with the ladies that I have on my list. If you don't mind, so permit me to just read out their profiles very quickly. Olanike Jagun is a versatile, innovative leader with over 20 years of experience in a number of international organizations spanning ICT, healthcare, insurance, pharmaceuticals, and telecoms. Olanike currently has the responsibility for developing and implementing strategic channel direction in MTN retail outlets across Nigeria. She is an inventive leader who precipitates decision-making through sound business insight and analysis that drives organic growth within these retail channels. For the last 3 years, Olanike has volunteered as a business consultant for the Stanford Seed Transformation Program for SMEs in West Africa. She also serves as a mentor to various technology and non-technology enabled startups through her membership of the Lagos Angel Network, Rising Tide Africa, which is a women's movement initiated to increase women's participation in angel investing, education, and cross-border investment, and Investment One Financial Services. Please let's welcome Olanike Jagun.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Great. The next person on my list would be another woman. Julia Oku Jacks is a principal consultant at Julia Jacks Consulting. She has decades of professional experience spanning academia, marketing communications, corporate strategy, and communications and international philanthropy. She co-founded and worked as executive creative director of SO&U Sachi, a leading Nigerian brand and marketing communication outfit, as a program officer for the media, art, and culture portfolio in the West African office of the international philanthropic organization, the Ford Foundation. Julia was responsible for refocusing the media, art, and culture portfolio with emphasis on the stimulation of indigenous creative industries. As an angel investor, Julia is championing the cause to get more women to benefit from angel investing, both as investors and founders. Please let's welcome Julia Oku Jacks.
Thank you. Good evening. It's great to be here.
You're welcome. The next person is Stephen Gugu. Is the co-founder and director at Victoria Ventures, the entity that runs Victoria Business Angels Network in Kenya. VBAN is a sector-agnostic angel network out of Kenya focused on commercially viable early-stage investments from across East Africa, which are post-traction. He also runs Investor, a financial service advisory company that builds, audits, and trains in financial modeling across Africa. Investia has carried out numerous assignments across Africa in valuation, market entry assessment, negotiation, pricing, and funding. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. I'm dialing in from Nairobi, Kenya.
Welcome once more. And then I have TD. We call him TD, but Harry Tomi Davies is collaborator-in-chief at Technovision, co-founder of the Lagos Angel Network, and founding president of the African Business Angel Network. He's chairman of Text Nigeria, which is a telecoms company, and non-executive director at MBO Capital, private equity, and Big Cabal Media, which is media and entertainment. He's also a member of the Lagos State Science Research and Innovation Council and sits on the board of Laptops for Learning Nigeria, the World Business Angels Investment Forum, and the Global Business Angels Network. Please let's make welcome TD.
Hi, everybody. Good to be here. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks.
Great. We also have Mehdi Alawi. I hope I pronounced that name correctly, Mehdi. Mehdi is he's the founder of the factory based in La Factory, based in Morocco, and he's also the president of the outsourcing. Mehdi, I think you need to help me make this introduction better because so I don't mix it up. Well, let's welcome Mehdi Alawi.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm glad to be with you today. Thank you.
Awesome. So,
sorry, Uche.
Yes,
point of protocol. Mehdi Alawi is a founder of Angels for Africa, which is an angels network in Morocco, Casablanca.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you for that, for adding that. So welcome again, Mehdi. My name is Uche Aniche. I'm part of the Southeast Angel Network, and I'll be moderating this session today. You can almost agree with me that it's a huge task having all of these people talk about this. So I'm going to start by inviting the panelists one by one to give us their perspective on the topic. So maybe I can still start with the women. So perhaps I'll start with Madam Olanike Jagun.
Thank you, Uche. Good evening, everyone, once again. I take it, Uche, you want me to give a perspective on...
Yes, ma'am.
On the angel investment landscape post-COVID.
Yes. Yeah, let's know what the angel investment landscape currently looks like, or used to look like before COVID. What it currently looks like now, and what you think it's going to look like after COVID.
Okay. If we cast our mind back post-COVID, a lot of Silicon Valley companies, private equity investors focused on Africa. There were lots of investments in startups. Some startups with very good ideas could virtually name their price. They could name their price. They could dictate their terms, I would say. A lot of the investment, I think in 2019, 2018, came to Nigeria in particular. I mean, I think it was Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, but Nigeria seemed to attract a lot of investors. So you had a lot of people come in, they could virtually cherry pick a lot of investments let me rephrase that. You had people coming from the abroad, bringing their dollars, and they could virtually pick the cream of the investments. Even though there was a budding angel investment, I mean, like RTA, Lagos Angel Network, yourselves, SSEAN, and quite another, I think there's Abuja angel investors as well. There were quite a number of existing local investors. However, a lot of the entrepreneurs seem to prefer investments from the abroad. I don't know if it was because, or well, from my perspective, sometimes I think it was because the terms and conditions we local investors required were quite stringent to that from our foreign investors. Fast forwarding to our current situation, where we've now got COVID-19 reigning supreme, I would say, across the globe. There's been a huge, how would you say, impact. Now, if you look at the global impact, various companies, starting with the United States, are now protecting their borders. They're protecting their productions, their manufacturing items. China was on lockdown, as you know, for quite a few months, and that had an impact globally, not just on Nigeria, but on all the countries across the world, because China had become this manufacturing superpower whom everybody relied on. I mean, most of the developed countries had outsourced their manufacturing to China. So when China was on lockdown, it had an impact all over, which reverberated all over the world, leaving a lot of the developed world exposed because they couldn't get, for example, the medical supplies they required from China. They then had to look inward, and whatever little supply they had, they were not going to export it, and they were not going to export it to other countries. This is a trend we're seeing, and it's possibly a trend which might continue. So if currently the protectionism the countries, the developed countries are having continues, it'll have a huge impact on us here in Africa. I mean, for example, because of the shutdown, you can see that a lot of the government tiers are struggling. And depending on how long this pandemic goes on, once we come out of it post-COVID, there's going to be a reduction in spend from all governments because they won't have that much revenue to play around with. We'll also see a lot of people who import supplies from the abroad into Nigeria. Will also see an impact because well, not most likely, as we can see, the Naira has begun to be devalued. And therefore, people who are going to import things from abroad are going to have to spend more Naira to import stuff for us locally. Now, how does this affect angel investment? Well, I would say a lot, because not just the closure, if you notice, the stock market is also playing down. So a lot of money which has been invested in stock market, shares, equity and stuff is on the down, which means that some investors are going to find out post-COVID, they don't have as much money as they thought they did going into COVID. Foreign direct investment will take a long time to recover, mainly because all the developed countries that bring in FDI into Nigeria are also going to be, how would you say, short of a bob or two. We look at the oil prices, which has had an impact. There's a lot of private equity companies that fund smaller oil and gas companies who deal with oil. They also are going to feel the pinch. Taking all this into cognizance, how do I see this impacting angel investment? Well, there's going to be change in the industries. As we're seeing, a lot of us are now working online. You have meetings online, you place orders online, you don't get deliveries online, but a lot of stuff is now based online. Education is online. So if you have any kids, I'm sure you'll find that now some of them are back in school. You're still paying the same school fees, but all the courses are held online. Consumer behavior. Well, Unilever put out a statement. I think I saw an article yesterday where Unilever said they've noticed that people are no longer buying as much deodorant and as much cosmetic things as before. What they're now buying is food. So people are cooking more, which means that they're trying, well, they can't just walk down to the supermarkets because there's restrictions and lockdown. They can, but only so often. So people are now buying more, how would you say, more needful things and spending less. This is a trend we're going to see continue after, well, post-COVID. What can entrepreneurs do? Well, I think they should look at opportunities which would come out. I mean, in Nigeria, and not just in Africa, indeed, a lot of the governments found out that the state of their healthcare wasn't what they thought it was. So there are lots of opportunities for entrepreneurs to focus in. I mean, we need laboratories, we need medical supplies, we need drugs. All these, I would say, constitute an opportunity for entrepreneurs looking to invest in that sector. We also need to do a lot of manufacturing. Currently, as we are, especially due to the state of our electricity in Nigeria, we don't have as much manufacturing as we should. Now, like I said earlier, if all countries are now protecting what they have, we now have to start looking inward and trying to see what we can manufacture locally. Like what greenage technology. Yes, just like what greenage technology are doing. Of looking inward and are manufacturing things locally. It may not be 100%, but as you can see, there's a lot of opportunities. Agriculture, education. I mean, as we can see, a lot of students are now going to do a lot of their courses online. There's currently a company called AfriLabs that is putting in place the largest building capacity programs, which is sponsored by a French company. Those are opportunities available to entrepreneurs. For the angel investors, I would say maybe they should, at this moment in time, they should look back at companies they've invested in and try and help them through this pandemic and be ready to invest more when they come out post-COVID, because obviously how these companies go in and when they come out are not going to be the same. And also, I think angel investors should look at what opportunities are available within the organization and help tailor entrepreneurs or startups towards what they can do to help. I think I've used up my time. Thank you
very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am. Just to Stephen, Mr. Stephen, Madam Olanike sees opportunities. What do you see?
Thank you, Uche. So, I mean, you'd asked several questions around what was the state of angel investing before, what it is now post-COVID. Yes. But let me start with the question that you've asked around the opportunities. Of course, there are opportunities. There's this article that was doing rounds. I don't know that everybody got to see it. I'll post it on the chat. And it was by Mark Anderson of Anderson and Horowitz. And he was just talking about the idea of we need to build, right? I agree with what Olanike was saying. There's so many things that have been exposed, healthcare. If you just think about, I mean, for most African countries, I don't think COVID has yet hit very hard yet. So we've not been as exposed. But if you look at what's happening in the West and how developed they are and some of the challenges that they've seen, protective equipment, ventilators. I mean, if you look at our statistics in Africa, the number of beds, we have ICU beds. I don't know the number of, I mean, if you look at the isolation centers that people are sitting in, if you look at the education space, I guess one question I'm asking myself is, why is everybody using Zoom, you know, even in Africa? Why don't we have local solutions that respond a bit more to what we need? My kids go to a school, and the school had never thought about e-learning. And I had to go sit with the teachers, teach them how to use Zoom. And after that, we had to go to Google Classrooms. So if you look at that, there's so much opportunity just to work with schools to create e-learning products for them to just to, you know, to have better tailored products that fit how we work and how we sort of like want our kids to learn, I guess, from an African context in this case. I believe there's a global picture, yes, but we've been exposed in various sectors, and we need to double down on that. Now, just to continue on the same idea of opportunity, the other key thing I've noticed, I mean, there's one of these lending applications that we have in Kenya is run by experts. And once, you know, the crisis hit, they chose to leave Kenya and, of course, go back to their countries. And for, I think, a period of 1 week, they wouldn't be able to lend to, you know, the normal people who would borrow from them. And I guess one question I ask myself is, what this means also from an opportunity perspective. I think we need to have more local founders, or we're going to have a bit more local founders that we want to trust as angel investors, because we know they're here to stay. I think, you know, all the way from the supply chain from China that's, you know, been cut off during this COVID environment. I think also startups, we've seen that expert founders, some of them are not here to stay. And unfortunately, we can't bank on them. We need to think about getting local founders to address the issues, and because they invested in the problems, they will be here to stay whether or not things are working. So I'll leave that on the opportunity side of things, but just coming more about the angel side, and maybe I'll pick one of the questions that Olanike did not spend a bit of time on, which was just about, if you're a new angel investor, if you're an existing angel investor, how do you then interpret everything? How do you double down? How do you reduce the risk that you're seeing? And I guess the first thing is you need to spend time with your portfolio. This is a time to really, you know, have a chat with your portfolio company almost on a weekly basis, if it's even on a daily basis, just to see what challenges are they facing. You may need to take money out of your pocket to help them to bridge the situation, especially if they're not in the essential services, or they're not doing online education or e-health, because those are the people, or they're not making masks. Those are the people who are generating. But if they're not in those spaces, you really need to sit down with them and ask them, you know, try and support them through this period, and think about cash much more. I think we're living in a luxury situation where startups could spend, I don't know, 6 months, 1 year without thinking about cash flows. I think that is going to change quite fast. And I think as an angel investor, one of the key things is to try and get startups to start thinking more about how they get to cash positive situation. Because if this happens, and I mean, I saw this research that was talking about the fact that most startups had less than 3 months of runway. So startups need to start thinking about that. And so even for us with our startups, one of the key things we've been doing is really to think about how do you pivot your business? How do you think about your business to ensure that while you are chasing the big dream of let's go conquer Africa, you need to be doing that while you can be able to cover your costs on a day-to-day basis. The other thing I would say is that, and this is the last thought I'll put out, is I think there's what should happen and there's what is going to happen, right? In the short term, and this is what we've seen also in our angel network, we are seeing a lot more people being a bit more cautious with their cash. And so people don't want to spend yet, unless it's a deal that you had already signed on, that you're in the process of finalizing on. Most people are saying, let's wait and see what happens post-COVID, and then we can put in cash. That is not what should be happening, but that is what is happening. What should be happening is really that we should be looking at the sectors that were highlighted: healthcare, education, logistics, financial services, because that's what is the future right now, no? Data security, and looking to make investments at this point, or at least, you know, having conversations with the entrepreneurs who are in those spaces and trying to plan how we're going to be making investments in those spaces. I'm going to pause at that point and let someone else take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. And I'll just pass the baton straight to Mehdi. Mehdi.
Yeah, thank you. So I would love to share with you what we have in our market. So basically, what we see is in the two first week of after COVID lockdown, everything was suspended. During this time, we see many startups coming with very innovative solutions in health tech, education, and also fintech. So after these 2 weeks, we see many companies launch a new program dedicated for startup to help them to go to the next step and to connect them with the government to finance them. So this program are under right now. I also do a tour and discuss with many business angels in our network, and I feel they want to continue to invest and to look for the startup that we already push to them. So this is a good sign. I think definitely the COVID problem is the best opportunity for startup to share what they have. Not all of them will make it, definitely, but the one well prepared, they will have many opportunity, and they need to use this opportunity, especially in health tech, education, and fintech. In the other fields, I think we should help the other startup to reinvent their business model during this long crisis, because it's not something that will stay only 2 months, but it will stay here maybe from 6 to 18 months. So cash is super important for them. So they are burning the cash that they have. So we need to help them to see things differently, to save their cash, and many to create or to adapt their product to the reality of the ground. I think in any case, when we have a problem, it's mean opportunities, and the most agile startup will benefit from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehdi. So, Madam Julia, what do you think?
Okay, good evening, everybody. And I've just been listening with great interest because the trends are the same all over, I guess, so far. The trends are the same. And I believe looking at the SSEAN network, which is more or less a fledgling network, right? If I may just go to what I see, I think there's been a state of, how would I call it? Some kind of status where people have generally gone into a hibernation mode. Some people are thinking, some people are hibernating, some people are cooking up, incubating new ideas. But I feel that quite a few people will die. Sorry, not literally, businesses, because the businesses have to be rethought, reworked, recalibrated. Probably, I can't remember who said, was it Mehdi who said you have to spend time with your portfolio? Yes, you have to spend time with your portfolio at this time and look at how people can recalibrate, reinvent themselves. It might be hard because entrepreneurs are pretty passionate and pretty dogged about what they are interested in, but they may have to look at new directions. It's also counterintuitive, but this is also a time for one to spot great deals and invest in them at the ground floor. That's what I think. It's a good time for anybody with a good eye, for an angel investor with a good eye for what is a marvelous investment, to get it on the ground floor now and grow pretty fast. I also feel that, I'm not sure who said it, I was trying to keep track, that we'll have to ramp up operations very quickly. We have to move swiftly and solidly. Now, I just want to say things a little bit from the branding perspective, which is where I sit very squarely, that we need to move from, I'm going to manage it like that brands to excellent brands. If we're going to have to ramp up very quickly, we're going to have to move very, very quickly to, I'm efficient, I've done this and I've moved on. We also have to spend this time to look at the things, our projections. That was one of the reasons I asked them, the gentleman who made the presentation, Green Age, fantastic presentation. But you know, you need to recalibrate very quickly, think on your feet and say, okay, those were the pre-COVID projections, but now I don't know. People are going to ring fence their money, they're going to ring fence their investments. How am I going to seduce them, interest them in me? So there's going to be a lot of pressure on the entrepreneurs to make themselves very interesting, very attractive, and solid, procedurally, process-wise, operationally, and also with their financial projections. I'd like to stop there for now and then pick it up later.
Thank you, madam. Tidi.
Yes, sir.
You know you would have to round up these thoughts because it won't be complete if you've not given us your perspective.
Okay, I think let me step back and take it from a totally different angle from the previous speakers. Okay. And what I wanted to, let's first of all take a quick look at, when we say angel investing, what do angel investors do? Okay, they spend their time and their cash and their networks to help startups grow fast. That's angel investing in a nutshell. Okay, now let's take those three and see what's going to happen. There's going to be less cash, more time, and the networks are going to be pretty static because events and the things that actually help the creation of networks have slowed down. So that's really, in terms of the nuts and bolts of angel investing, that's what's happening. Now let's look at the angel investing process itself. Deal flow, which is where we all start. Well, it's going to be increasingly challenging to be exposed to deal flow. Why? Because we're going to end up with this whole electronic pitching world that is starting to emerge, like we had earlier on in this particular session. And that is not the same as I used to say, seeing eye for eye. Videos will work, but guess what? It's slightly different to pressing the flesh. And when you understand the fact that that's why angel investing is a local sport, you understand what I mean. The second area of work for angels, which a lot of the speakers have highlighted, is portfolio management. I've spent the last 3 weeks on nothing but trying, and thank God I've succeeded, sourcing funding for my existing portfolio of startups, because every single one of them has seen a decline in revenue. Their burn rate has, in some cases, they've managed to slow it down, but they're running out of runway. And time to break even is getting even further along the line. So those are some of the metrics. It means when I expect return, it's a bit further away. But what I wanted to share, which I find interesting, is to look at it from an industry perspective. We can all see, I don't know if you read what I read, but there's something going to be like 90,000 pilots are going to be out of work. The aviation industry is on life support. The automotive industry is screaming because people are moving. Construction and real estate is having the same challenge. Manufacturing is having the same challenge. We heard it from the presentation earlier. So those are the big losers in this COVID thing, and it isn't going to materially change post-COVID because it's about a realignment and a readjustment. As we were hearing earlier, all of us are doing this to thy tent, so Israel. I was shocked, to get a letter from the British Embassy saying, do you want to be evacuated from Nigeria? And I'm looking at these guys and say, can you imagine it's actually happening? Britain, the United States are evacuating people from Africa. because they're worried about what's going to happen. Now, that presents us with an amazing opportunity. And where are these opportunities? You've touched on some of them. Medical supply and services. I see food processing and agriculture, big time. Personal care and healthcare, things we've not been able to do on the continent because we've become import junkies. All of a sudden, we're starting to realize, hang on, we can do this. I've been involved in a personal project to help to manufacture ventilators, something we wouldn't have thought about just 6 months ago. And of course, the biggest winners is what we're doing right now. Somebody said, oh, isn't there a local alternative to Zoom? I can guarantee you one thing, let this thing continue. Within 6 months, we will have those local alternatives. Why? Because we're not going to be able to pay the rates for international royalties. So that's sort of the context I wanted to paint in terms of what we are looking at with COVID and a post-COVID world. Final thing, especially because Mehdi's here as well as Stephen and others, Africa is not a monolithic whole. And I need people to understand something. The African market is in cities. 75 African cities account for over half the consumption of Africa. Per capita consumption in cities is nearly 80% higher. So when you look at the markets, the biggest market in Africa is Cairo, in Egypt. Okay, then you've got Joburg, then you've got Lagos. So as we look at opportunities and solution sets, which is what I really think we should focus on as angel investors, is where are we going to help our startups grow into? That's the context I wanted to leave everybody with in terms of talking. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. At this point, I'd like to just mention that if you have questions, you can put your questions down in the Q&A session. But I like to return back to the panelists. Anybody want to add something to what Tidi has said, a different perspective? Anything at all you want to add? If you have, I'll just let me know so I can open your mic. And the rest of us here, if you have questions as well and you want to ask. But before then, sorry, I have Madam Yemi Kerry on this call, and I think that it won't be complete if I don't let her say something on this topic. So, Madam Kerry, I'm actually opening up your mic, if you don't mind.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, this is so unexpected. The first thing that came to mind when they said the next alternative to Zoom, that was like a light bulb. The cost of which we are paying for all of these services are exorbitant. And now we need to start looking at our cash and our cash management. That in itself, should start making us come into the area of innovation in our various industries, and particularly with our various startups. We are going to move away. We're going to start looking at self-sustenance now. If peradventure, now they've closed all the interstate borders, right, in Nigeria. Now, if peradventure this continues for the next 2 weeks, a lot of people would have gotten used to, in a sort of way, staying and working at home. However, while we are all doing this, we need to understand that our ecosystem needs to continue to breathe. Otherwise, those of us that are investors or angel investors, VCs, are also going to lose out because we're not going to find these investable companies. One is, people have started helping their portfolios. However, what happens to these upcoming portfolios that require funding? require all the other support services, because we are all cash strapped. And my eyes are open, but I'm going to really have to start weighing what industry I invest in, what type of businesses I invest in. So the competition is going to be fiercer. Competition of attracting investors funds is going to be fiercer in the ecosystem. I'm only hoping that the repercussion of the pandemic is that innovation starts at an accelerated rate at this point in time. That's my first thought. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. May I remind everyone that you can ask questions via the Q&A session, and then if you're streaming on Facebook, you can ask questions on the Facebook comment, and we'll pick up those questions, especially if they are upvoted or liked. So we'll pick up the top questions and ask. The same thing applies to the YouTube streaming channel. Madam Julia wanted to ask or to make additional comments. Julia, please.
Okay. I was just listening avidly, and what keeps coming is there's going to be competition for attracting investors' funds. I think the thing about this pandemic is that we really don't know when it's going to end. There are all kinds of projections, but as soon as we project something, we hear there's reinfection of things. And the competition for attracting investors' funds is going to be real. And unless you're locked in right now, I think it will be...
Start copying out those questions in case I lose. Oh, sorry, not you.
Okay. Unless you're locked in as an angel investor or a venture capitalist, what we're going to actually require people making their pitches to be not slick, but much more thorough. Because what I'm finding out is that in this lockdown time, the people that for me, and a lot of people I know who we tend to patronize are people, I won't call them household brands, but they're brands trusted. There might be local brands, but you trust them. And you trust them for different reasons. They've built up their capacity. So you can't gloss over little things that might count. You can't gloss over how you present yourself. You can't gloss over how you do your financials. You can't gloss over projections. You can't just... I follow Twitter a lot. I follow a lot of things. I'm not very active personally, but I follow. I watch very closely. And I know there was some comments about 3 weeks ago on one of the, someone who had done a pitch here for Sean, and they just kind of glossed over the complaints that, Uche, I don't know if I can just mention the industry instead of mention. I don't want to mention the. Go on. Okay. It's in the cab hailing business, right? Okay, and they just glossed over the complaints and did something as casual as, we will do better. And I think there's going to be less tolerance because nobody knows if it's going to come back, and if it's going to come back with a vengeance. That is COVID-19, COVID-20, COVID 2.0. Who knows? So people are going to be more cautious. There's a lot of hidden fear just under the surface. It's just bubbling there. So while I personally would remain optimistic that once it goes, it goes, but I don't believe it's going to be life as usual again. So I would go back to my branding, not comfort zone, but branding zone, and say people are just going to have to create those brands and make them trustworthy and make them brands that people are going to feel, yeah, this is a creative brand, this is resilient, this brand can think on its feet, this brand can come back to me quickly and say, you know what, this is not working out, and this is what I'm thinking of. So the hand-holding has to probably be a mutual kind of handshake, not so much, I know TD said it's going to be you spend time and you invest, but it's going to also work the other way. That as someone is spending time with you, you're also thinking, what else can I do? So people have to come at it from both angles. That's what I just wanted to re-emphasize.
Thank you. Stephen wants to say something on this. Stephen.
Yeah, thanks. So I guess the only thought I wanted to add is our experience in Kenya has been that the best way to pitch angel investing to any person is to pitch it from the portfolio perspective, where most people have had the investments in traditional investments, real estate, shares, fixed income, the typical places where Africans buying land, where Africans put their money. And I guess for me, this is such a good crisis to just illustrate how you can build your portfolio also using angel investments, which can be anti-fragile or can be counter-cyclical. Because there are some angel deals that have been done which are counter-cyclical. I mean, if you're in e-learning, the different sectors we've spoken about, they're doing quite well. But if you're in real estate at the moment, and especially if it's commercial real estate, you're having serious negotiations with your tenants on whether they're going to be paying rent or not. If you have your shares, everything has gone to the dogs. Fixed income probably still holding. But really, the only investments that can be very counter-cyclical in this case, and of course, it's on the basis of the choices you make. Angel investments and private equity type investments are really good. And so if you're sort of like someone who's thinking about it and just bearing in mind what everybody has said in terms of the fact that we need to build, there's so many opportunities that have been exposed that we had not previously thought about, then this is a time to diversify your portfolio so that the next time there's something like this, you have some investments that are moving the other direction.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple of questions here, but before then, Mehdi, do you have something to add to this?
Yeah, I definitely think that, as I said before, and many of you already say, there is a huge opportunity for business angel right now to detect the startup that can scale up very quickly due to the crisis. And we just need to see where is the startup and which field. And because everyone is looking now for digital, for startups and for innovation, because we don't have a choice. And maybe, as I said before, this is the unique opportunity for innovation and for startup to scale up, because now is what provides startup is a must to have. Before was a nice to have, and this is completely changed the paradigm of how people see digitalization, innovation. So I think we should focus on those opportunity and try to identify the best startup as a business angel and definitely invest on them. It's now, it's not after the crisis. So this is my opinion.
Awesome, thank you very much. One thing I see as a consensus. Okay, Tidi, go on. Tidi, please go on. I saw your hand up.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry, my internet connection says it was unstable. I think that, I like a lot of what I'm hearing, because it says people are getting their heads around this. But what is the nature of a startup? If you listen to Eric Ries, it is about planning in extreme uncertainty. And that's really what we're facing now, is extreme uncertainty. We don't know what is really going to happen. So what does that tell us we need to do? Well, first is we need to build, measure, learn from it, and then go back through that cycle. If you take that attitude or that approach as an angel investor, especially if you have a portfolio and you are looking to optimize or maximize that portfolio, then it behoves you that self-preservation is first. So if you've already invested, you've got to make sure you safeguard the investments you've already made. And that is why I'm telling startups it's going to be increasingly difficult if you are not connected, because people are going to rely more and more on existing connections to validate, to verify, and to inform. Because trust-based systems, unfortunately, are not pervasive on the continent. That's why we're still very, very much cash-based. So it definitely is time to build, but the nature of the building is going to fundamentally change. So if you are looking to start a startup now, the first thing you need to do is identify within your ecosystem, who are the players. The hubs are going to get so important, people will not believe. They are going to become our economic development centers. Somebody mentioned AfriLabs earlier. If you think the French Development Bank gave AfriLabs money just because they asked for it or they thought about it, no, it's not. It is because we all see that there's a deficiency in the education system. We all believe entrepreneurship is the solution to Africa's challenge. However, to make sure that is happening in a structured way, the hubs have a role to play, and we are marshalling the effort that we fundamentally believe, so do angel investors, as a component of that, because not only are they bringing cash to the table, they are also bringing knowledge and expertise that is unavailable anywhere else. I dare you to know Lagos better than me. It's not possible. Okay. So when you want to do business in Lagos or you want to build a startup in Lagos, you are better off with Olanike Jagun, Yemi Kerry, Tomi Davies, Dr. Sulaiman, whoever else is a Lagos angel than you are, you know, no disrespect to you, Christian. I know you're on this call, you're my friend, to Christian who's sitting in Norway or in Scandinavia. And that is what we need to start to understand. So as we look at it, let's look at what are our governments doing. We know they're all knee-jerk reacting right now, but we've identified these areas of opportunity. How do we start to marshal efforts to ensure that startups that are addressing those solutions get the best there is? And there's a lot of us working in that direction. And I'm quite sure most of the people here are in that frame of mind, which is, where are the opportunities? Let's go capture them. That's what I wanted to add.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, TD. I'll just take this couple of questions and then we'll just round up this session. So the first one is from Lee in Zimbabwe. He says, I would like to find out from the panelists if there are any angel investors for SADC country startups. I often see angel investors for SA and Nigeria mostly. So I believe that TD can answer this. There's also another question whether someone from North Africa can join Sean. I'm sure Mehdi will be able to provide answers to the state of the angel investment, the angel investors in the North Africa. So I'm sure you can attend to that question. Sean is mainly for Nigerian and basically Southeast people. So the question on if you can join where angel investors are, TD, please, can you provide some answers to that?
Yes, sir, and I've actually answered all these questions directly in the Q&A. I've typed the answers in. If you're interested in where the networks are, please go to abanangels.org. You will find the community list there. And the answer is yes, there are angel networks, okay, in Southern Africa, not just South Africa, but Tanzania, Zambia, quite a number of, even Botswana. And just recently, I helped launch the Namibia Business Angel Network. So the answer is yes, there are angel networks there. If you look in Egypt, where the gentleman who asked the question is from, we've got the Alex Angels, we've got Him Angels, and we've got Cairo Angels, amongst others.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I think that's the much we can take for this session. We will just go straight to the pitching session, and then if you're tuning in from the slide stream, we're going to cut off from here now, and then go into the speech sessions just for people here online right now on Zoom. So please just give me a couple of seconds to stop the live stream so that we can start and please let's also have the guys pitching get their slides ready. Just get your slides set up so that once we call you, you can just go live sharing your screen. Thank you very much. Pitching to us today would be Entric. Entric is a startup based in Port Harcourt into off-grid power supply. So Entric, Geoffrey, if you're ready, can you share your screen? Geoffrey, can you hear me? Okay, while Geoffrey is getting ready, can I ask that Tribe Square, if you're ready, can you share your screen while Geoffrey gets ready? Hello? Okay, so Ezekiel, who's okay, Geoffrey, you need to unmute.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, go on, Geoffrey. Geoffrey, unmute your mic.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
All right. Thank you so much for the invite. Can you see my screen?
We can see your screen.
All right, great. Thank you again for the opportunity and the invite. My name is Geoffrey Abie, and I'm the co-founder of Entric Power Systems Limited, and we are an off-grid and mini-grid developers. Basically, what that means is we go to communities that don't have electricity at all, and we build large enough solar systems to handle their electricity demand. And we also build distribution networks as well as meters. We also provide the meters to provide a metering for the systems. Our mission statement is to provide cost-effective, clean, and reliable electricity to the unserved and underserved communities in Nigeria. We've identified that in Nigeria, over 95 million people do not have electricity, and the majority of this